Candace Owens is the black white supremacist.
Black men, 6% of the population, account for
44%
of all murders in this country.
And as hilarious and insane as that is, it's not even the most backwards thing about her.
Amen.
I've never in my life seen someone so willing to throw their own under the bus for a group of hateful morons that obviously don't respect them.
The Brits invading Africa, it ended up being a net positive.
So I've spent the past 2 months torturing myself watching her god-awful content, trying to figure out why she chooses to be like this. And I found a lot. Most of it is hilarious, but all of it is kind of fucked up.
Black Americans do not know how to resolve basic conflicts. Everything has to turn into a fight. I hate you forever. You gotta draw lines. It's like you're this gang or that gang.
For the blessed few of you who don't know, Candace Owens is a far-right political pundit. She's been on Fox News a bunch of times. She's worked with political organizations like Turning Point USA and the Daily Wire.
Beat it up, N-word. Catch a charge.
Where she had classic segments like Why I Used to Support Gay Rights and my personal favorite, Juneteenth is Ghetto and Made Up.
This holiday is ghetto and, in fact,
made up.
Candace, all holidays are made up. That's how they work. See, when Candace first came on the scene, the racist Republicans loved her because she was saying publicly all the hateful up shit they've been saying privately for years. And she got to say it on the biggest news network in the country under the guise of helping her own people.
Victimhood has become almost a mental plague upon Black America in particular.
I gotta give it to the Repubs. Their plot was genius. The only issue was that their DEI hire is a moron.
I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a
round earther.
Because Candace is constantly saying shit that's not just borderline evil, but just factually inaccurate. And she's proven that with the way she processes information, she's only gonna get more and more unhinged. Let me explain.
why would a black person want to report racistly on another black person?
If there's one thing we can count on Candace Owens to do, it's to say a bunch of dumb shit that's obviously wrong. Like saying with a straight face that the NRA was created to help defend black people against the Klan.
I know that the NRA was started as a civil rights organization, training black Americans to arm themselves and defend themselves against the KKK.
Now that does sound like the plot to an excellent Denzel Washington movie, but unfortunately, it's not real. The truth is that the NRA was created by a group of Union soldiers who discovered during the Civil War that they couldn't shoot for shit. So they started a little gun club to focus on their aim. Nothing to do with saving black people. But I'm sure that's a cute little story to tell your ignorant ass fans to make them feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Or the time Candace said this ignorant shit about her own ancestors.
slaves built this country, slaves built this country, slaves built this country. Everything that we have, we owe to slavery and slaves, and this is an argument for reparations. We've heard this nonsense over and over again from people who've never bothered to open a history book, or maybe they have actually. Maybe it's because they've opened history books in school that they learn this garbage nowadays. Actually, I would say it is because they open history books that they learn this garbage.
Did you notice how in real time she went from it's because they don't read history books to maybe it's because they do to no, it's definitely because they do read history books. Watch out for people who do that because they're usually f***ing stupid. Speaking of stupid and uninformed, I think we can all agree that America is in its misinformation arc. We have a lot of different articles and political pundits that are very opinionated and have no issue leaving out crucial information that would change your mind on a given topic. That's why it was so important for me to have Ground News be the sponsor of today's video. Ground News is a website and app that helps you combat political biases. Biases? I don't know, I dropped out of college. It gathers different political articles from around the world and puts them all into one place just for you. Because I don't know about you, but once I read an article or two, I'm not about to go find 20 more to see if those two were holding back or being biased or not. Who has the time for that? Ground News has the time, that's who. Let's take the story about Candace Owens being suspended from YouTube after her Kanye West interview. When I look this up on Ground News, we can see that they gathered 11 articles on this story. So when we look at the media bias breakdown, we can see that 38% of the articles were covered by the left, 25% were covered by the center, and 38% were covered by the right. And honestly, this breakdown is a lot more impartial than I was expecting. On Ground News, you can even compare the headlines to show how the left and right have the exact same information, but will choose to present things in two totally different ways, giving you two totally different stories. So just for funsies, let's click on one of these right-leading articles to see how fairly they cover this story. The Algminer, I don't know how to read that, reports YouTube suspends Klandace Owens, demonetizes her account for hate speech in Kanye West interview. And if I take a look at the left-leaning article from USA Today, we can see that they say Klandace Owens suspended from YouTube after Kanye West interview. Host blames Zionists. But this is what I've come to expect from these people. The main reason I made this video was not only to make fun of Klandace, but to point out the fact that she is a huge proponent of this exact thing. Having a very strong but baseless opinion and never really trying to hear from the other side. And every single time she's been proven wrong, she blocks the people that corrected her and doubles down on her nonsense. Always to the detriment of her audience. It's exactly this type of behavior that we get from our political pundits that causes so much hatred and division in this country. Division and hatred based off of lies most of the time. We know that Klandace will never do an accurate segment on these Jack Smith filings because instead she wants to make 16 segments about why Kamala Harris isn't black. Klandace, this is Kamala's dad. Move on, alright? This is pathetic even for you. It's this mistrust we have in our media that's caused Ground News to create its blind spot feature, which shows you articles that have little to no coverage by one side of the political aisle. This is a great tool to make sure you're able to see what kind of information both sides are getting and can help us all stay away from the political extremes on both sides. It's apparent to me that Klandace is the perfect representation of everything wrong with political media in 2024, and I truly believe that Ground News is a great solution to help us protect ourselves from people like her. So go ahead and check them out at ground.news/Kamal or click on the first link in the description and use code Kamal to save 40% off on their Vantage plan. It's their best plan and it's the same one that I use. I really wanted to come with some solutions for this video and not just make fun of a woman who is different. So thank you again to Ground News for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to Corey in the house.
I actually had, Mediaite, whatever that website is, write an article, hit piece on me for telling the truth about the history of slavery by saying that the majority of people did not have slaves. Obviously, a very small fraction of uber wealthy people had slaves, people that were fighting the Civil War. It was a poor man's fight and a rich man's war. They were not fighting to keep slavery in place. They didn't have slaves.
To correct her ignorant ass statement, it wasn't some small group that owned slaves. When you consider the amount of people that either owned slaves or were part of an immediate family that owned slaves, the percentages are more like 30 to 50% depending on the state. Also, I know you're not supposed to say slave anymore, so I'd like to make a formal apology to my mother and Kendrick Lamar. I'm sorry.
Obviously, we all know slavery was abhorrent. It was an abhorrent practice all over the world, did not begin in America, and actually did not begin with white people, right? It still goes on today, and it is black and brown people that keep those institutions up, and actually white people were the first people to end the institutions of slavery. France, the United Kingdom, followed by America. We were the first to put an end and to abolish slavery.
Oh my God, what a shocker that she's completely wrong again. First of all, dumbass, Haiti was the first country in the Americas to ban slavery, which they did in 1804. History lesson, history lesson. And the truth is that America wasn't one of the first countries to ban slavery. It was actually one of the last. Every single country on screen right now banned slavery before the US did. Maybe you should pick up one of those history books so you can refrain from humiliating yourself. I don't know if they teach this on PragerU.com, but these are the facts. I don't think anyone's trying to say that slavery is the sole reason for every single American accomplishment, but to act like it wasn't a huge factor of our country's success is just ignorant and a very weird thing to try so hard to deny, especially for a colored. But white people don't feel excluded, okay? Because black history is just one of the many things Klandace doesn't know shit about. Look at how this clown embarrasses herself trying to prove that Donald Trump single-handedly saved America.
I think if Donald Trump did not win the election, we would have lost America. I genuinely believe lost it. Like Hillary.
And I can't not bring up the fact that Donald Trump, her angelic leader, is the one who incited an insurrection against the government. But we're gonna lose the country to Hillary Clinton. I know he hadn't done it at this point, but I'm still gonna bring it up because it's insane.
Do I believe in climate change? No.
Okay, but this is an incredibly complicated subject.
Right.
And if you would have to talk to a bunch of different scientists and see how they gather data. Have you done all this, or
No,
do you
so I
take
think-
this flippant opinion
No,
based
listen,
on the party line?
this wouldn't be the hill I died on, right? But it's not about the party. I just genuinely, I've read a ton about it, but
What
I
have
would
you
not be
read?
able to, I would not be able to come to you and say, like, this is my strong opinion.
Okay, so you refuse to give any credence to something that 97% of scientists and most people in the world believe in. Then you say, I've read a ton about it, but can't, like, say my strong opinion. Hey, Klandace, purveyor of truth and seeker of knowledge, if you don't know why you believe in something, and that belief is in opposition with almost every single human being that's ever researched that topic, how about next time, instead of bringing up your ignorant ass opinions on the biggest platform in the world, you instead shut the fuck up? I'm Kamal and I approve this message. But honestly, what more should we expect from a grown woman that says unironically that they have left the cult of science?
I am somebody who has left the cult of science. I have left the mega church of science.
It's almost impressive to say something that objectively stupid. Almost.
Because what I have now realized is that science, what it is actually, if you think about it, is a
pagan faith.
Holy shit, and it just keeps getting worse by the second. Pagan faith? I honestly don't think she could have picked worse words to describe science. Because there is zero faith in science. Kind of the whole point. For something to be scientific, it means it has to be able to be proven and repeatable, but I'm sure the more she talks, the more sense she's gonna make, right?
is a pagan faith. I'm gonna give you an example of exactly what it is I'm talking about.
In case you think you disagree.
A woman tweeted this. You may have seen me retweet this over the weekend. Her name is Beth. She wrote this. Years ago, I was assured that an IUD was safe, effective, and could be removed at any point if I decided on having more children. It was FDA approved, after all. Ovarian cysts, surgery, infections, a week in the hospital, and infertility. That was what they meant by safe and effective.
So your evidence to prove that IUDs are not 99% effective and that all the statistics and science behind it are a lie is a random tweet from 4 years ago. Got it. And I'm not even saying you're wrong. Well, I mean, I kinda am, but let's be real, I'm not gonna be Mr. Know-It-All when it comes to women's birth control. But I'm sure that we can all agree that a tweet with 0 likes from Beth_EK probably isn't the best evidence out there to prove that we've all been indoctrinated into the cult of science.
I am grateful for having gone through the school of hard knocks, because you are required to have an element of common sense in order to survive. And when I look at people and they hold on to, but the doctor said this, but the expert said this, and I see how extreme the things that they will do. They were masking 2-year-olds because doctors said, no, this person, if they breathe, it's going to be a bad thing. Well, I realized that
That's a faith.
that is a faith and it is not a science.
If your point was saying, hey, let's look into this data a little bit more and find out how these stats are being created so we're not just blindly listening to every single person with a lab coat, I would be right there with you. But you're not saying that. You're saying don't believe anything these experts are saying because common sense. And if you thought using that tweet as evidence was dumb as hell, just wait until you see which one of her fake alpha male friends she brings up to teach us about the uselessness of math and science.
I know a lot of people feel that they don't understand why he has the platform that he has, but I found this clip
To be extremely interesting.
One of my habits now is ignoring all data. It's great.
I honestly feel like I'm in the movie Idiocracy right now, but with a worse script. Klandace, you don't see any issues with using Andrew Tate, someone who made his money by getting kicked in the head and pimping women, to prove your point that science and data aren't real.
I just know things because I've just been around.
Honestly, that is so relatable to me. I can't even explain it. I just know things because I've been around, because there are so many scenarios that I find myself in where I'm unable to articulate the point. I'm unable to articulate the natural reaction that I have when somebody tries to sell me
Garbage.
This is the type of shit that leads to the end of civilizations. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. Don't believe the experts. What do they know? And definitely don't go out and do your own research. Just believe the opposite of what the smart people are saying, because common sense. How do you not see that this is going to a up place? Putin is fully erect listening to this. You know that, right? Because people who refuse to do research, or at the very least listen to people who do research, are incredibly easy to manipulate.
Can't articulate it when somebody explains to me, well, the moon landings definitely happened because this, and the firmament, and they could get, and I'm just like, no, I don't know, instinctually it just doesn't register to me. It just feels like that is a lie.
Well, I mean, you heard her say it. When people come to Klandace with information and data and reasons for why things happen, Klandace says, I just feel like no. What do you even say to somebody who processes information like that? You have a belief. Someone who's been studying this belief says, oh no, you're wrong because this, and this. All just stats and facts. And Klandace says, yeah, but like, no though, just no. This is also the woman that's constantly calling people delusional. Remember that.
I think the CIA and the Mossad are the exact same organization.
I'm sure it's not a total shock that someone with such a dog shit way of processing information would be prone to conspiracy theories, but even for conspiracy theorists, Klandace's views are super fucked up.
If Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany.
Like her obsessive witch hunt of the First Lady of France, Brigitte Macron. See, Klandace is 100% convinced that the First Lady, or whatever they're called in France, is actually a man.
The First Lady, Brigitte Macron, was actually born Jean-Michel. So Bridget is actually John Michael. John Michael lived as a man for 30 years, fathered 5 children, okay, and then transitioned at the age of 30 to become Brigitte.
Klandace says she's willing to stake her entire professional career on this, so let's find out why she's so confident.
Okay, now I'm just gonna show you this before and after photo, just right here. They actually used, as a part of their investigation, Chinese software, and this is a side-by-side. It is such a dead ringer. It's crazy to me that you would not say that these two individuals look alike, that this is potentially the same individual age.
Okay. I mean, it's not that unbelievable that someone would look like their brother, especially as a kid. And to be honest, they don't even look that much alike. And this is coming from someone who truly struggles to tell white people apart. I mean, I thought Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg were the same person for the first 18 years of my life. But if I'm analyzing the similarities found by this Chinese technology, I mean, yeah, they both have dimples, the noses aren't even that similar, and the hair thing isn't even in the same spot. I'm not impressed. Now, Klandace, throughout her amazing journalism, keeps referencing this 6-part series that breaks everything down. She says it's what led her to come to this fucked up conclusion, and definitely not the fact that she's insane and obsessed with trans people.
So the quote-unquote conspiracy theory is actually a 3-year thorough investigation that was conducted by journalists that were working with genealogists. It was published in 6 issues in Faits et Documents.
But I went to the website and tried to read the articles she was talking about, but everything was behind this big ass paywall. But just from looking at this site, it looks super scammy to me. You know, it gives me like Alex Jones Buy My Miracle Elixir energy. It could just be my gay liberal brain rot, but I'm guessing there's a reason that the only thing Klandace referenced from all those articles was that goofy ass side-by-side that was created by Chinese technology.
First obvious reason that I am very much believing what they have published is because the First Lady is simply unable to produce any photos of herself throughout the first 30 years of her life.
Now, I will concede to Klandace here that there aren't a lot of pictures of Brigitte in her youth on the World Wide Web. I personally don't find this weird because Brigitte is old, and old people did not grow up posting on MySpace every week. I'm sure you'd struggle to find a bunch of pictures of my grandparents' childhood on the internet too, but that doesn't make them transgender. These are people that cannot send out a text message from a cell phone. Why would we be expecting them to take their old ass ass printed photos, scan them onto a computer, and post them onto Facebook. That's about as realistic as me going to a junkyard and building a rocket ship to send us all to Mars. Now, Klandace claims there are 0 pictures of Brigitte before she was 30 on the internet. Nothing that can disprove Klandace's stupid ass theory that Brigitte was born Jean-Michel, fathered several children, and then transitioned to a woman at the age of 30. But Klandace, I found some pictures, and it was really easy. It took me about 7 minutes of Googling. Here's one of her getting married to her first husband, Andre Luis, whatever that last name is. I'm American. I don't do accents. Although, if I'm being real, I can't really make out her face here. But since Klandace kept saying that there are no pictures of her first husband and there's no pictures of her wedding, I figured I would show it. And here's another one of her as a young mother with a daughter that she apparently fathered. So, I mean, there you go, Klandace. I guess your reputation is shitty now, like it was so fantastic before. Question for Klandace and all the dumbass journalists who are investigating this nonsense. If your claim is that Brigitte was actually the boy in this photo, then what happened to the little girl? I feel like finding her would have been the key to unlocking this Hardy Boys mystery, but I guess asking you to do research that makes sense for something this objectively stupid wouldn't really be a fair ask, would it? The funniest thing about this Brigitte is a man situation is that the relationship with the French Prime Minister and his wife is already super weird. I mean, they met when he was a teen in high school and she was his 40-year-old teacher. Apparently he was in the same class as her daughter. I mean, things are odd. If you want to make fun of the French, it's not hard. But I know a lot of these internet conservatives lose their mind if they don't talk about trans people every 6 hours, so do what makes you feel comfortable, I guess.
Transgenderism must be eradicated from public life entirely.
But unfortunately for all of us, that's not the only conspiracy Klandace is obsessed with right now. She's also on a bit of a, let's call it, consistent questioning of Jewish people and their history.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Today we're going to keep the subject matter light. We're going to discuss
Adolf Hitler.
No, but I'm completely being serious. Literally Hitler is on the agenda because why can't we discuss him ever?
See, she starts off kind of light with this little bullshit premise that no one's ever allowed to talk about Hitler. That's obviously not true at all. I notice a lot of people who have weird feelings about Jewish people always fall under this fake guise of asking questions, but never seem to be asking genuine questions and never seem to be actually looking for the truth, but instead are always trying to spread some bullshit half-baked narrative.
The first time that I ever almost got canceled, it was because I was discussing Adolf Hitler in an
Academic sense.
and then BuzzFeed took me out of context. They made it seem as though I was saying Hitler was a good guy, which of course I wasn't. That's always a hoax when somebody is pretending that someone jumped up and said that.
First off, to say that it's always a hoax when someone points out another person praising Hitler is absolutely insane. And second off, people weren't mad because you were talking about Hitler. People were mad because your main gripe against Hitler was the fact that he wanted to expand what he was doing into other countries.
If Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. Problem is that he had dreams outside of Germany.
Klandace, you do realize that he had camps in Germany, right? I even asked ChatGPT just to clarify. I'm so sick of these whiny ass internet conservatives that take zero accountability for their consistent fuck-up, while simultaneously trying to shame everybody who doesn't think exactly like they do and trying to shove their white Jesus down everyone's throat.
What you want them to comply with in this case is Germany, Nazi, Hitler, the greatest evil that's ever happened on Earth, even though factually and statistically it is not.
Creating an entire segment to try to prove that the Holocaust wasn't the worst thing to ever happen is objectively weird, especially when evil is subjective, so this already doesn't make any sense. But you know, I gotta ask, why do you feel the need to do this? Because I know a certain group of people who love to talk about this stuff and love to talk about why the Holocaust probably wasn't that big of a deal, if it even happened. People who used to be really fond of you and your journalism, but found that you're so incompetent and inaccurate that even they had to come out and distance themselves from you.
I don't know how much I really even support what Klandace is doing anymore because she's muddying the waters. You can't really go hard like that and stake the reputation of you and everybody on this and then like get it wrong really severely over and over.
I mean, don't we almost feel bad for her? Imagine being called out for being too stupid and inaccurate by the leader of a hate group.
Real Africans on average have an IQ of 65.
This is Nick Fuentes. He's a closeted half Mexican incel whose sole goal is to make America white and Catholic again.
I'm an incel. I am a proud incel. And when I'm good and ready, I'll get married. I'll still be an incel, though.
His entire existence has been a pathetic joke, and even he is calling out Klandace for being incompetent. Klandace, when the Mexican Nazis are saying you're too dumb to be in their group based off of lies, you know you've really f***ed up in life. And if Klandace wasn't this hateful goblin that's constantly throwing black people under the bus, I'd honestly feel bad for her. But she is, so I don't.
The Nazis experimented on innocent people. Klandace, come on, that's the difference. They experimented on twins. I mean, some of the stories, by the way, sound completely absurd. I mean, like the idea that they just like cut a human up and then sewed them back together.
Why would you do that?
Literally, even if you're the most evil person in the world, that's a tremendous waste of time and supplies. That just sounds like bizarre propaganda.
Bro, what the what is this? This is like literal Nazi propaganda. This show is damn near mainstream. I mean, Candace Owens just got fired from the Daily Wire a couple months ago. The Daily Wire has a movie in theaters right now, and her fans are loving it. America, are we good? Like, do we need to have a conversation? Cause like, this is not good. It's no shock to me that Klandace has been on this anti-Israel tirade for months now, and something tells me it's not about her compassion for the Palestinian people. If I'm shooting from the hip here, I really think it's just she didn't like working for Jewish people. I truly believe Klandace is that petty and narrow-minded that she would hate all of Israel because she didn't like Ben Shapiro.
Wet ass P-word.
I really think she is that kind of person. I don't know, but that's what my gut says. And Klandace says to always listen to your gut, so I figured I would share.
You are now married to a straight homosexual.
Now, as you can tell, I think Klandace Owens is a dog shit person. She's constantly spreading harmful misinformation and hate, but what makes her even worse in my eyes is that she doesn't even practice or believe in these white Jesus values that she's constantly shoving down everyone's throat. See, Klandace presents herself as a conservative Christian woman, someone who's dedicated to protecting the children of America from the gays, trans, and Jews. So I personally get confused when I see that she's in the constant defense of somebody who's made their money from pimping and is on camera admitting to rape and child trafficking. Andrew Tate is somebody who's been caught in countless lies.
I didn't sell drugs.
So I'm selling drugs. I didn't really like selling drugs.
Has not only done porn himself, but built his first empire from manipulating women into doing for him.
I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money.
Built his second empire from manipulating angry children into buying his How to Make Money Online course.
Welcome to the smartest decision you've ever made, Hustlers University.
And oh yeah, was charged with rape, sex trafficking, including the trafficking of a minor, along with a bunch of other shit, and has dozens of videos of him confessing to almost every single crime he's being charged with. And with all this information out and very public, and Klandace apparently having read the indictment,
I've read the indictment.
Klandace still decides to be in constant defense of this man and gave him two of the easiest softball ass interviews I've ever seen in my life.
And so I want to commend you on whatever it is that you built that created this young kid who's gonna absolutely crush it.
Hell, she's even so delusional, she thinks the Romanian court system loosened the definition of trafficking just so they could charge Tate.
Yeah, we should talk about that because they are kind of stretching the definition of trafficking in your case. I've taken a look at it.
If this demon had any sort of human decency, she would know, or at least not lie about the fact that the definition of trafficking has not changed for decades. Nobody went in and changed anything when Andrew Tate got arrested. That is nonsense.
People that don't come from a lot, me and you, obviously, have different decisions that lay before us in life than people that come from everything or people that come from a very stable household.
Two loving parents.
And I think it's very difficult for people that don't come from nothing to understand that, and they're so sure that if they were in desperate circumstances that they would still never do anything.
But this is the
What? Miss Conservative Jesus wants to talk about, I mean, what were we supposed to do? You grew up without a dad, kind of welfare. I mean, of course you had to traffic those children. I mean, come on. This woman is so vile. You see the hoops she's willing to jump through to run defense for Andrew Tate, a man who not only refuses to take accountability for his crimes, but also a man who says he doesn't even feel bad for what he's done.
Being very honest, I don't think what I did was really that bad.
But what really pisses me off is when you compare the energy she has for the disgusting ass Tate brothers compared to the energy she has for Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Ahmaud Arbery. Because every single time there's a highly publicized case where a black person is killed by one of Klandace's majestic whites, what does Klandace do? She paints the deceased in the worst possible light, often saying things that aren't even true about them, and has nothing negative to say about the white person that killed them. When it came to George Floyd, not only did you spew this bullshit right after his death.
I do not support George Floyd and the media depiction of him as a martyr for Black America. The Black community is unique from other communities because we are the only community that caters to the bottom denominator of our society.
But then she created an entire documentary about the evils of BLM, which should have been an easy win for Klandace, but because she fucking sucks, she goes and spreads this lie that George Floyd died of fentanyl.
The real story is a story of addiction. Obviously, they had drugs on them. Drugs were found on them. And I believe that in his final moments, when the police arrived, he ingested a lethal amount of drugs. And it is a story of a man who overdosed.
Hey Klandace, it's great that you believe that, but please explain to us why you left out the fact that multiple doctors and medical specialists all said that George Floyd did not overdose.
Can you tell the jury from having looked at those videos, can you tell by looking at that alone, whether George Floyd was suffering from a fentanyl overdose?
He is not.
My bad, I forgot. Candace Owens doesn't listen to the experts. She just listens to common sense. It's working out great for you, right?
Ahmaud Arbery was caught on camera breaking into an unfinished property that was owned by Larry English. His mother has confirmed it was him in the video. Please stop with this. Just a jogger bullshit narrative. Avid joggers don't wear khaki shorts and stop to break into homes.
Candace, I know the facts aren't really your thing, but Ahmaud Arbery never broke into any house. He walked into a construction site, looked around, and it was proven that he never stole anything. I'm 100% certain that even your mouth-breathing troglodyte fans would agree that these small white children did not break into this house. And for her slow fans in the back, this is the exact same house. And what you saw on camera was the last 45 seconds of a man who had been chased down for 5 minutes straight and had just been hit by a pickup truck because the people chasing him hit him with it.
He was not being pursued in the video, obviously. It looked like he was running towards the car.
You saw him running toward that truck because he was running from the guy that was filming him, the guy that had just hit him with his car, and he ran into the other people because they had turned around and flanked him. They were surrounding him, trying to trap him like a animal.
And then when the two people who had guns, he went around and he attacked the person.
And he charged at them because the dude had a gun pointed at his head and he felt like this was his only chance to survive. Because again, they had been chasing him for 5 minutes straight. And what did the guy say right after he shot him?
After the shooting took place, before police arrival, while Mr. Arbery was on the ground, that he heard Travis Michael make the statement.
Exactly. But to Candace, Ahmaud is the criminal here, right? And these traffickers that your religious husband is so buddy-buddy with for some reason, they're great. They're actually the victims. I mean, the court system changed the definition just to get them, right, Candace? They're the victims. Just like Derek Chauvin is the victim, right?
Nobody knew who George Floyd was, but also nobody knew who Derek Chauvin was.
In Candace's disgusting ass documentary, she actually brought on a bunch of Minnesota cops to try to garner sympathy for Derek Chauvin.
We heard earlier that he is spending 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. Do you ever think about his mental state?
Every day. Every day. You don't wish that on anybody.
And of course, she totally leaves out the fact that Derek Chauvin had been putting his knee into other people's necks. He did this to 7 other people. But she doesn't bring that up. Of course not. We can't have the white man police officer in the wrong. I mean, that just wouldn't be right.
Because you used to be a liberal.
Right.
And then you became a conservative.
That's correct.
You know, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out why Klandace Owens would willingly choose a career of cookery.
Thoughts on the Confederate flag? I do not see a problem with people whose family members died fighting for that flag to be able to wave it high.
And I realized that Klandace has never had a strong connection to Black culture or Black people.
As far as on her daily basis, like growing up on a daily basis in her life, she was around more white people. You know what I mean? She grew up in Connecticut. So, you know, all her friends was white. You know, all the guys she ever dated. I don't think I ever known Klandace to ever date a Black dude.
She identifies as Caribbean. She probably didn't have a lot of Black friends growing up. She damn sure doesn't have a lot of Black friends now. So I get it. It makes sense to me that a narcissistic contrarian with a disdain for Black Americans would decide to be used as a human tool for racists who want to spread lies about Black people. It's sad, but it does add up. There's a lot of people in this country that are Black but don't have a strong connection to Black American culture. And that can lead to a lot of confusion and resentment for Black culture and Black people. I know firsthand what it's like for Black people to try to question your Blackness and try to make you feel like you don't belong in the group. And it hurts. Now, I didn't allow those experiences to turn me into a Fox News super. But you know, we all have our journeys, I guess. Part of me honestly feels bad for Klandace. She's been used up by all the far-right psychos on the internet to spread lies about her own people, lies that she probably actually believes. She gets fired from the Daily Wire for doing to Ben's people what she's been doing to her own for her entire career. A few months into her being on her own, she gets demonetized from YouTube, and she seems to be spiraling, falling for a new dumbass conspiracy theory every single day, embarrassing herself in front of America. So what do we take from this? Well, one, I hope we all realize that Klandace Owens is a shitty journalist that spreads constant misinformation on groups of people that hurt her feelings, and that the best thing for her to do would be to turn the camera off permanently. And that maybe we as Black people shouldn't try so hard to gatekeep the Black experience in America, because the next time you try to tell that awkward girl with the bad edges that she's not Black, you might just be creating the next Black white supremacist.